Treasures of the Ukraine is an authentic record of the folk dress of the Ukrainian people of yesteryear, showing variations in costume native to the many towns and districts. The Ukraine, at present under Russian communist domination, lies along the north shore of the Black Sea. At the turn of the century, there came to the North American continent the first of many thousands of Ukrainians who had left their homeland in quest of better living conditions. Some came as young people to seek their fortunes. Others, well on their way to middle age, brought along entire families, most of them seeking to better their economic status, but many of them to escape political and religious oppression. Along with eager hearts and willing hands, they brought with them their arts and culture, music, choral singing, literature, Byzantine architecture, wood carving, embroidery, Easter egg painting, and the other folk arts which, in turn, have enriched Canadian culture. It is hoped that those who have brought the skill of these handicrafts will continue to pass them on so that their beauty will stay alive in our new world. The time prior to a wedding is always exciting and colorful, and here we see two girls from Bukovina, a rich green valley in the Carpathian hills bordering Romania. The bride-to-be is being helped with her dressing before going around the neighborhood to invite the guests to the wedding. The costumes reflect the Byzantine influence in the extreme of ornamentation. The bride is wearing a traditional velvet jumper adorned with braids. The blouses are cross-stitched in geometrical patterns with floral motifs. Before going forth to invite the guests to the wedding, the bride receives a special blessing from her parents. Additional wreath is placed over the bride's crown. Both girls wear elaborate headdresses decorated with flowers, wool, peacock feathers, and ribbon streamers. The climax of this ornateness is found in the necklace of many strings of pearls, silver coins, and colored beads draped from the earrings. The jacket is of finest quality, white lambskin lined with fur. It's cleverly decorated with little leather straps of different hues, loops of lace, beads, and pierced metal rings. And now, to invite the guests. In the northwest part of Ukraine, along the river Bug in Polesia, the people are hardworking, thrifty, and clever. And one of the traditional crafts brought to Canada is a very artistic, intricate design that grows under the skillful fingers of the women as they decorate eggs for Easter. She wears a blouse which is not embroidered, but has a woven geometrical design, both at the shoulder and the lower part of the sleeve. Her amber necklace is a typical ornament of this district, which is near the Baltic Sea, known in the old days as the Amber Road. Looking closer, you can see the delicate pattern. At the skirt hemline, there is a woven pattern similar to that of the blouse, while the skirt itself is very heavily pleated from vertically striped homespun. The hip-length jacket is decorated with rick-rack braid. This mother and daughter are from Sarapinchi, one of the larger villages of Horodenko, originally a planned community area. The foundation of the mother's headdress is a special dark red small pillbox, over which is wrapped a small white shawl. Over this, a second long scarf is draped into a high turban effect, reminiscent of the Turkish fez. Notice the oval crown of the daughter is completely covered with tiny rosebuds and other delicate flowers, augmented with periwinkle and draping ribbons. The costumes show the effect of the Cossacks, who settled here after a march through western Ukraine. The influence is most apparent in the wearing of a lightweight korsetka, or jacket, and a floral or printed skirt. The mother and daughter are now ready for church. Kyiv, the capital city of the Ukraine, is situated on the banks of the Dnieper River. It's one of the oldest settlements of Eastern Europe. The girl's plachta, or skirt, is double-winged, hand-woven, in beautiful geometrical square designs, with a hip-length korsetka, form-fitting with flaring back pleats from the waistline. The boy wears a traditional Cossack costume of embroidered shirts, full trousers, and a wool cap. The girl's headdress is a gay wreath of wild field flowers. Real coral beads are around her neck. embroidered headdress is exquisite. It is one worn by the married women of Kyiv. An embroidered cap holds in place yards of white linen strips wound intricately around her head. Women the world over are always interested in clothes, and these two Poltava girls are no exception. Their fitted velvet jackets are in solid colors. All shirts or blouses are typical to this district, embroidered white on white with elaborate cutwork. The designs are of a flowery and true nature motif instead of the more usual geometric pattern of Western Ukraine. The apron and skirt are beautifully hand-woven. The plachta itself is double-winged, below which the underskirt peaks about an inch. Here is a closer view of the intricate pattern and weaving of the skirt material. These costumes are most familiar to us, as they are the ones seen on the concert stage of today. In the north is Polesia, a marshland along the river Pripyat, which favors the growing of flax. Consequently, we find homemade linen becomes one of the principal materials used in their clothes. A homespun skirt and apron are embroidered with many horizontal lines of cross-stitch. Strips of white cloth are wound around the foot and ankles, over which are worn leather slippers. A sumak in the typical all-white linen costume and straw hat, hand-woven from local materials, uses the excuse of a drink of water to talk to a pretty girl. In a mischievous mood, she takes advantage of him. But their resulting quarrel is soon over. This woman of Yavoriu is on her way to sell her live duck at the market, where she in turn can buy all manner of home-produced articles. Her costume is rather interesting. Perhaps you'll stop and let us look more closely. The jacket, known as kabat, is long sleeved of heavy linen in a herringbone weave decorated with tiny buttons. On her head is a heavily embroidered pillbox-type cap, covered with a white linen shawl, embroidered in one corner with Yavorika stitch. Her apron, made from lightweight linen, is softly pleated and embroidered. The closely pleated skirt is cut from hand-woven straight material, so that the stripes are vertical. The little girl's costume also shows many hours of patient needlework. being tended by a little girl of Polesia, who is wearing a simple long shirt belted at the waist. Her older sister, wearing a princess-line jacket, embroidered simply in front and down the back seams, has come to take her home. Apron and fine white linen blouse is embroidered in plain cross-stitch. The skirt is cashmere wool in a floral pattern. These are the Lamcotes, who live in the most western part of Ukraine, midst wooded hills and mountain streets. They are deeply religious and thrifty. The people are conservative and show this in their dress, which has very little or no embroidery. The women's skirts are accordion pleated. Simple aprons are worn over them. Brightly colored beads with ribbon decorations under the beads is worn for jewelry. East of Lamki, in the wild of the Carpathian mountains, we come to the Boy Coast. Because of rocky hill soil, the land is poor. Despite hard living conditions, the people are song-loving, and they love to sing ballads from hill to hill. Even marriage proposals have been made in this way. White is a predominant costume color. Around her neck, she wears a dainty necklace of red and green beads with religious medals in between. The blouse shows two types of needlework. The shoulder is cross-stitched, while the cuff is delicately smocked. The jacket is trimmed with wool braid and small brass buttons. On her head, she wears a pillbox type of embroidered cap with a slit down the middle, through which a lock of hair peeks out in a perky curl. She wears a flowered, accordion-pleated skirt. In color in Kuban. Let us look at her costume, starting at the high red boots. The embroidered hem of her underskirt shows between the side panels of the plachta and below the blue silk apron, embroidered across the bottom in flowered motifs. Her annoyance grows as her patience lessens. Are waiting for someone? Now the double-winged skirt with woven design shows more clearly as she rises to put on her sleeveless black velvet corsetka. Her lover is a young Kuban Cossack. In common with all men of the district, he's an excellent horseman, and he wears a four-cornered sheepskin cap, while down his back swings freely a triangular bashlik, which he pulls up over his head during chilly winter winds. The coat is belted, and in front hangs a silver dagger, while over his chest are pockets into which are put silver-cased bullets. Early in the morning, a young girl starts the day in her long, loose-fitting linen shirt, which is a basic garment of all women's costumes. Around her waist, she tightly wraps a long, wide woven krykov. The hand-woven wraparound skirt is known amongst Ukrainians as obhortka. A second belt covers the skirt fastening, thus giving a finish to the costume. The headdress is in three parts. First, a woolen roll interlocking with the hair braid. Second, a beaded gird-on ribbon. And over all goes a wreath of periwinkle, which, incidentally, is used in all wedding crowns in Ukraine. Next, she ties on her beads, which signify the wealth of the girl. More beads, more wealth. Her feet are wrapped in linen cloth instead of today's stockings, over which she pulls her high boots. This costume is typical of 4 neighboring hamlets of southwestern Ukraine. The attire is closely related in style, but each has its own color combination and embroidery stitch. The second hamlet in Holichna favors red. The full sleeves of the blouses are heavily embroidered and accordion pleated. Here we find 2 girls preparing a bouquet of flowers and fruit around a central cornstalk, which they'll take to church to be blessed in a special Thanksgiving service, which will take place before anyone eats the newly grown fruit. The skirts, of quite different woven pattern, are covered with a wool apron and topped with a belt, which in this case hangs down the back with tasseled ends. The third hamlet, Sniyatin, has orange for its predominant color. This close view of the tufted stitch shows the rich quality of the design. The rich, fertile soil and warm climate of Zalizaki leads to the growing of grapes and the consequent production of some of the finest wines of Ukraine. The black skirt is woven with white vertical stripes. The people are very imaginative, which is reflected in the intricate embroidery detail, with the predominant color of black, in harmony with nature's black earth. excellent handicraft ability of these Hutzul people shows in the rich elaborateness of their clothes. This wide embroidered band on the shoulder of the blouse has a superabundance of color, made in one of the oldest stitches of Ukraine. Even the bright woolen socks have a decorated top, while the beaded moccasins are formed into a pointed toe. The carvings on the leather are enriched with metal rings and colored laces. The people make their living from hunting, sheep raising, wood cutting, and handcraft. Their free and dangerous mode of life has developed in them a proud and independent bearing. On festive occasions, the girls wear sleeveless fur jackets in both summer and winter. Boys always find the discussion of girls' clothing very boring. However, when we see the top of his hat, we'll notice feathered flowers, rows of beads placed there by his betrothed. After marriage, these will be removed by his wife. The necklace is made from true-colored stones, carved into beads, strung with ancient money pieces and a holy cross. The boy's shirt is held in with a broad leather belt, over which is fastened a narrower one, which holds his pipe and purse. To add still more color to his costume, he wears a sleeveless lambskin jacket, or in this case, a heavy woolen coat known as a surdok.